Today we're talking to 10 home service millionaires that have scaled their business and they're trying to take it to the next level. And they're having some troubles and issues, and there's a bunch of questions about how do I scale? How do I hire employees? How do I train the right general manager? There's a lot of really good information from a whole bunch of different services from the green industry. Tree services, lawn care, landscaping, snow plowing. It's packed with information. It's one of my favorite Q&A sessions ever. Let's go ahead and run the tape. Raise up.
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Not too bad. So I run a tree service company. So I'm just curious what your take is on, you talk a lot about recurring customers. Obviously, tree service, if we're doing, our focus is a lot on the tree care side of things, so tree trimming.
Okay.
However, the reality of it is, if we're trimming your tree, we don't have to come back for about 2 years. So do you have any other guys you work with that you've built some sort of recurring something out, or not really?
I'm assuming when you say tree care, this is more like over a house, over a power line, etc.
Correct.
Okay. And what's your hourly rate for your team, like technicians paying them right now? On average. Like I know that there's arborists and all this.
About, on average, it'd be about $30 an hour.
Okay. Of the projects that you do, how many of them do you think have other trees on the property that need to be trimmed more than once a year?
So what we're focusing on is strictly mature trees, so not shrubs. So we're strictly focusing on the big trees that really don't need to be trimmed more than once every couple of years. So that's the challenge.
Got it. So what I would recommend doing is trying to still convert them to a recurring annual tree trim. And the thing is that's nice, right, is on your first service with them, they're paying, I would imagine, on average $1,500 to $2,000.
Yeah.
Like they just paid you that. So like it's the easiest downsell. Say, hey, by the way, if you just get on the schedule with us and pay for your first visit and you do this on an annual basis, you can save 30% and it's $499 per year. You pay for the first one now, we'll be back in 12 months, but that prevents you from doing this every 2 or 3 years for $1,500 or $2,000. Right? And more importantly, you get priority in terms of scheduling because you know how it is. Everyone calls you when it's windy and branches all over the place, etc. And so I would bake in, you know, the math better than I just did it there.
Yeah.
But I would figure out what's the reduction of revenue you're willing to take in order to get them on an annual basis. And I would make sure that you're collecting at least a deposit on that first service. Don't be like, yeah, we'll put you on next year. Like I need the money now, because the whole advantage is you lock them in and you can't have that moving around. And then that gives you the flexibility around scheduling because you could do it whenever you don't have other jobs coming in.
Right. Yep. Yeah. No, that's actually a good idea. I never really thought of it that way. That makes a lot of sense. The only downside, obviously, is if we're coming out every year, if we're doing a smaller prune about 30% of the time, there's a certain level of that makes it less efficient than if we do it every 2 or 3 years, right? But the value of the known recurring work definitely adds value for sure. So
the real value, Ray, is that you're able to schedule that recurring service whenever you want. And so you would not schedule it during the period of time when you can get other jobs for 3x the price because everyone's needing the service after a storm.
Yeah.
Right. Because those customers are going to call you if there's a storm. Now they're not, because you just pruned their tree 2 months ago and they're taken care of. You now increase the capacity during peak season, i.e. after a storm, to make max dollars.
Yeah, 100%. That makes sense. Now, just a question on your... So on my quoting, I go out and look at each individual tree because every tree is different, right? So you talk about systemizing your quoting and your quick quotes. That's really not possible in my case. Or at least in my head, it isn't. Do you agree with that?
I agree, specifically when it comes to emergency hazardous stuff, because like literally the angle of a tree could 3x the cost, and it's 100%. High hazard, right? So I'm a big fan of it. I think your pricing presentation, though, could really lean into the recurring side. So, for example, you say, hey, to get this fixed, here's the solution. On average, this tree is going to need trimmed every 2 years. So you're looking around $3,000 every 2 years. Now, we do have this extra another option. We come out annually. This reduces the work for us. We don't have as large limbs. Our cleanup is faster, and therefore the price is 33%. Not 50%, but 33% of what it would otherwise be. You increase total revenue. You decrease total revenue, but you increase lifetime value of the customer because right now you're just depending on them calling you back.
100%. And then the other question I have is I just got onto your P4P. I just heard about that end of the year, trying to figure out how to improve profits and so on. And I really think that pay for performance is an awesome concept. I've never heard about it before. So I'm I'm trying to implement that into this coming season, starting March. Trying to implement that. The question is, this is not recurring work, as in you're doing the same lawn every week. So I guess it just comes down to my quoting being extremely accurate and my time estimate and so on. That's everything's custom, but there's really no way around that.
Yeah. First thing I would say about when it comes to the trees that we see with P4P is I would probably use simple mode on the software if you use it. Because then they're just getting a percentage of revenue. Because budget hours are not as important when it comes to your work. Like you're quoting revenue is very much attributed to how long the job's going to take. You have tree chipping, et cetera. But like, and then also you just change the percentage based upon the level of the arborist or the person on the ground, et cetera. Because you can just the software will do all the math on the back end. I apologize. What was your actual question? Just summarize it real quick.
I was just asking how P4P would work. Like basically, my quoting's all custom. So the P4P
accuracy.
My quoting just needs to be extremely accurate. That's basically what it comes down to.
What you could do, Ray, like on simple mode, they're just getting a percentage of revenue, right? So like, yeah, there's gonna be jobs they crush. There's gonna be jobs that take longer. I would probably pad the ones that go way longer, assuming I'll ask you this question. Are there times jobs go like 3 times longer than you expect?
There's like 2 of those per year. Like that's very rare. Typically I'm right in the ballpark.
Yeah. So then I would just probably, if you really wanted to put a cap for them, like, hey, if it goes twice as long, or like literally it goes way and it's my fault, I'll step in. But like I can count on one hand how many times I've ever stepped in on projects that went bad, and usually those are projects we had no business doing. Like honestly, because if I can't accurately bid it, I shouldn't be doing the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that stuff goes wrong, and so you could just honestly tell them like, hey guys, if it's an estimator problem and we're double, anything above that, I'll step in and I'll like do a different percentage or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, then I had another question in regards to, so we do tree service from March through to Christmas. Then what we do in the winter is land clearing for new development. Complete different set of equipment. In hindsight, not the best, possibly not the best setup. However, 5 years ago when we got into that as winter work, it was great, and the market was great. We did well at it. However, the market has completely died off. Just for example, and 2 years ago we did 1.2 million in the land clearing over the winter, and 400 grand in tree service the rest of the year. Now this past season we did 600 grand in tree service, but just 500 grand in the land clearing over the winter. So that market has completely tanked, and obviously you can imagine my equipment overhead and so on. It's kind of putting me in a really bad spot at the moment. So I'm just curious what your take is on that.
Yeah, my take is that I never want to tie myself to new developments, because that's a boom and bust cycle, right? So you had 2021, 2022, free money coming along. People are just land clearing like crazy. I want to be tied to be able to serve a high net worth individual, because they're going to be insulated from those events. And so that's where the tree care, why it's been more steady, because like everyone needs a tree trimmed. They don't need them removed unless they're building, right? So I would say the challenging part is now you have all the equipment and the assets. And I will also say this, Ray, I think that if you spent a year focusing on the recurring side and were able to start figuring out how do I get 30, 40, 50% of my one-time jobs to convert into this recurring service, you use that as a way to sell enough work to fill January and February over the course of time. That might take a year or two, but then you give you the confidence to pull the plug out on the land clearing.
And that's kind of actually, I'm kind of making steps to go that direction, as well as I sold off some equipment, bought another bucket truck to get a second crew going. So I'm projecting doing $1 million in tree service this year versus the 1.1 I did total last year, including both, which the headache of both, if I can just focus on one, so much better.
Yeah. And that's the part that it never shows up on a P&L, and that is like focus and attention. And I think that the part that, I can't quantify for you is that if you did just rip out the cord, even without having the back end, I bet you do 1.3 million in tree service if you just didn't even think about that this year, right? And so there's this margin of cost of just attention. And I don't want you to do that because like I know you have fixed expenses, et cetera. But I think if I was you, as I head into this season, the upcoming one, I would convince myself that I don't need to do it again next year by starting to sell the recurring services. And you're going to stink at it first. Like it's going to be so awkward. You're going to get 10 to 15% of conversion. But over the course of time, I think you can get that to 30, 40%. And if you do that all year, that's where you do the work, January and February. You do all the people that signed up for the recurring service then, and you have that confidence, pull the plug on that bad boy. And I think that alone will give you so much more mental, because like during January and February, let's say it slows down. Great. That's when you're planning for the year. That's when you're doing acquisition of equipment. That's when you're focusing on marketing. Like the business will do better.
And I shouldn't be running around like a chicken with my head chopped off trying to find land clearing work that doesn't exist. Competitors going out of business, it's that bad. So 100% agree. I think that's the right move. And my focus has been on unreasonable hospitality the last couple of years, which has really grown the tree service side.
Tree service.
I think the recurring work would really blend into that. I just never really considered that, but I think that could be a really great model if we can build that out.
Yeah, the reason that model works so well for one-time projects, and it's very common for people not to think about it, is because you don't have to sell it because they just paid $2,000 or $3,000. Yeah. Like, would you like this done again for $500? Like, why would you not say yes? They just like if you sell it to people who've already said yes. So I will say this real quick. I would do it on the initial estimate. That's the easiest way because you're already making the estimate. Get really good at doing it after the job is done. Because when they just paid you $3,000 and you tell them, "Why don't I just do it for $500 a year?" And you say in the estimate, this is a service that is required every 24 months. So in their brain, they're already doing the math. Okay, let's call it $1,500 a year. Oh, you can do it for significantly less. So I would do it in two different spots. And whether or not you're on the job site, I would incentivize your crew on the upsell rate if they do it. If you're doing all sales on the upfront, I'd push hard there though. I'd do both. Yeah. I think you'll crush.
Excellent. I will. I'll have to put a lot of thought into that, how I'm going to do that. But I think that's a fantastic idea.
Cool. Yeah. One quick thing on the estimate, I would put in the line item. Which service tree software do you use?
Arbor Gold.
Cool. Yep. Okay. So in the estimate line description, I'd get in the habit of putting how often services are required, estimating. So every 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, etc. To your point, most of the time it's 2 years. Great. That becomes part of your estimate description so that in the next line item, you have your pitch. Because now it becomes something like people take it as truth because everything else in that estimate is what you've stated is on their property and they know that to be true. So when you state all the type of tree, the hazard it's causing, what you're going to be doing to solve the problem, and then you say this service is required every 24 months for this specific situation, they will assume that is true, and then they will do the math in their head on the price that you then give in the next line item. That's a significant discount.
Now, just a question on that, because obviously my competition isn't doing that. What's a client's perception on that? I see that. I look at it.
I know what you're saying. It's the same reason. It's the same reason you go to the store though, and it's buy two get one free. Do you think the third one didn't cost them anything?
Yeah.
It's a volume discount, right? Now, I'm not going to tell the customer that. I'm going to tell the customer, hey, when we first come to a property, and leading it to unreasonable hospitality, get this one. We take a video of the property. We make sure it's up to our standards. We do a risk analysis of the tree. We make sure everything is put into your account. That takes us a lot more time than in the future. We come back and we don't have to do those things. We have the video and we knock it out. We don't have to do a risk assessment. I don't have to come out and be an estimator. All of that is so much more cost effective for us. And we can send our crew out whenever instead of at a certain time when you need to be home.
Yeah. No, good point. Thank you.
You got it. I would love to hear, Ray, how that turns out. I know it'll be a little bumpy at the beginning to kind of figure out your processes, but I really believe you can nail that one down. I've seen this happen even in HVAC and like electrical and like what typically is seen as one-time jobs. They're able to figure that out. So good job, man.
Appreciate it.
It's time to lock in before the spring rush. And when it comes to locking in, you want to be able to rely on something to hold your business strong, just like this chain. That's why at HomeWorks, we have the logo of the chain because it's the 3 links in every home service business: sales, operations, and admin. So before the spring rush gets super hot and you have leads coming in like crazy, make sure you're set up inside of a software like Homeworks that can take your business to the next level and allow you to scale this spring. Go check it out today. Go to home.works. Val is up.
So here in the Central Valley, we don't really have a fourth quarter collapse. It just work all year round.
There's pros and cons. That's why you also have so much demand, right? Or so much competition. That's why everyone has a mower, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and that's kind of where I was heading is that, so my brother here, he focused on horticulture. He majored in horticulture, plant science. So we were able to kind of offer more of a premium service. So the issue is that, we have two owners, and so we're trying to define our roles. Up to this point, I've been more of the sales GM, more so to speak, and so it used to be three of us. So now he's kind of taking more of the operations role. However, with his background and a couple of other trainings we've done, our market continues to pull us back in for projects, and because we've been doing recurring for this whole time. And last year, due to some inefficiencies, we didn't hit our projections because we were on pace to hit about 750, 800, and we topped out at 670. We're trying to figure out what's the best approach for him that likes the horticulture side. I even watched your Max Floyd stuff, since he's kind of the same mentality about, hey, I'm a horticulturist type of deal. So the mentality is like, what would you suggest? Because he wants to stay in the field doing construction projects. We did aquascape, training, same message you do, system, simplify, don't change the system. So it kind of goes in correlation with what, we hear from you. But as far as like, how would you kind of do that role as far as like the stage that we're at, as far as him continuing to do operations management, and possibly even like, but not have to worry about like the crews out and kind of all that setup, because he wants to stay out and out doing projects.
Yeah, like I think that it sets up for a good full-time GM size, right? So you can easily get to 750 to 1.5 using your model. And usually I don't like people in that size, but because you're both your brothers and I'm assuming you're co-owners.
Yeah.
Yeah, like neither of you are going anywhere. So that's where I'm a little okay with having someone being fully over your operations, and they're not going to take your team against you or do something crazy. What you could do is you could be sales, he could be operations, and then as you grow, like who's doing your admin right now?
I've been doing it for the last few years. We have a college student that's going to start up in
a week.
She's going to we've been doing ChatGPT to create SOPs, taking what's in your book, the Mike AI and all that stuff, converging it into something we can hand over to her, and then have her do that. And then the bookkeeping, actually, I was going to schedule a call with your firm to see if we can kind of just hand that off, so that way it's not on here either.
Yeah, like I think just keep in mind, if you said you're going to do 670, I wouldn't be saying, hey, operations manager, you hopping in as sales full time, and then having like an assistant person. That gets very unprofitable very, very fast. However, you are setting yourself up to get past $1 million. And so I would just set the expectation for both of you that, hey, for a season, like maybe the first 3 to 6 months of this year, we are sold out in the field and we're doing labor revenue. But the goal is that over the course of time, we've delineated what sales is, what operations is, and what admin is. I would focus a lot of your time right now, and this is an hour. What are the tasks that both of you are doing right now that are sales, operations, and admin? And the eventual goal, it might be a year away from now, is that Val only does sales, brother only does operations, and then admin, we've delegated all of that. And it's going to take you a bit of a time, Val, because you're not ready for that like tomorrow.
Yeah.
But as long as you know that's the direction, and then what you can do is you could just put like, if you put it on a whiteboard, you can put your name next to the things that you guys are doing. Because right now, I guarantee you, it's kind of you're doing everything, right? Sometimes you do sales, sometimes you are up in an operation doing equipment, but you want to list off every single thing, like training the team, hiring, interviewing, moving equipment, moving materials, ordering materials. Like that's all operations. Boom. Right now, you're doing some of those tasks, but the goal is to eventually get it to where there's more clarity, like Val under sales. Right? Under operations, brother. Like that's eventually the goal. But for now, you can just delineate what those tasks are and then move in that direction.
Okay. Yeah, because right now, like we're both out in the field still. We still do the recurring stuff. And so the other thing too is that like we kind of took your model as far as like doing a recurring in a small town of 10,000 people. That's been our kind of bread and butter. However, this is where it becomes the other thing too, is that we work with property management companies that pull us maybe about 20 miles away from where our location's at. That's where, like, in the grand scheme of things, we're kind of thinking like, would it make sense to have satellite locations, kind of like you explained, just because there are markets for us there, because we know what the competition is there, we know what's here. But that's kind of been the challenge, is that sometimes we're like we had one customer that they didn't take no for an answer. We like drove up the price, the commercial site, and we ended up charging about 40% of what we would typically charge for here because of the drive time. And so we know there's a market, but the thing is that we kind of appreciate what the fact that you're saying that you can't like jump the gun and skip steps. We kind of want to make sure that this is viable for us to copy here. So right now that's the goal, is for us to try to figure out how, if in the long run, is it worth it? Because now we're at, like, honestly, you answered all our questions right now because of the, like, a real estate. He's looking into buying a 3-acre lot, where he's going to build a house. And so we figured we can have a hub instead of our little central location here. And so a lot of stuff made sense.
Quick question. How much of your revenue is recurring?
Right now, probably 95%.
Oh, cool. Because the alternative, based upon your market, you could technically make him a working GM at your current location, throw the thing into profit mode, and maybe next year it does 750 or 780,000, but you don't buy more trucks, you don't hire more people, you just throw that thing into profit mode, and then you go start another location 30 minutes, 40 minutes away because you're the sales guy. Mm-hmm. That's the alternative, and I happen to believe that many times that will make more profit than you'd be like, okay, I'm going to be full-time sales, he's going to be full-time operations manager, I'm going to go get a big admin person, and we're going to go to 1.5, right? Like, do I think that's possible? Yes. And I told you that originally because it's going to be, in a way, easier because you're both together. I will also say next year you would make more profit if you just said, hey, you're throwing this thing into profit mode and we're raising prices on 95% of our revenue by 20%.
Right. And because we actually just raised our prices about a month ago. So we just did, we did that. And so
how much percent?
That's the goal.
How much did you raise it by? 10%?
10% across the board. It just,
we could have done more. We could have done more, my friend.
You know what? We didn't have any pushback. So that's the thing. And
I'm telling you.
Well, you know what's funny though is that, we took over our business from our dad. So we have the brand here that's been around for almost 40 years. So my dad got sick. We took over for him. And the issue is that, stubborn older Mexican people, they don't like change. And so to kind of pull him out or push him away and not hurt his feelings, he kind of still had some say. And so we had never really started raising prices until maybe a couple of years ago. But now it's kind of getting to the point where we've just kind of put a standard on our contracts too. We're raising our price yearly, no ifs, but the percentage is kind of where we're trying to figure out what we can get away with and what not.
More is better. More is better, my friend. You know what's funny? So I just left this turnaround, right? And they just raised prices last month too by 10%. So you know what I had them do? We made a video together. They raised the prices again by another 10%. Sent it to all their customers.
Well, you know what the thing is, that following you, the thing that we've learned is the math doesn't lie. That's kind of been the thing that's blown my mind. It's kind of when you're closed-minded to, oh man, I'm going to lose customers, whatever. Our commercial stuff, because they're a little bit more price sensitive, we try to be a little more careful, but honestly, here in our area, the cost of living is pretty comparable to you guys up in Pacific Northwest. Yeah, there's hardly any pushback. I kind of send a notice saying, hey, we're effective immediately. The QuickBooks thing, hey, we're raising our prices. I didn't give an explanation. This is what it is, and they all accepted it, and they're like, all right, we understand. Our auto insurance just went 200 times up. Percent. And so I'm so I kind of explained to them afterwards, it's just cost of living in California, we're getting priced out of being here. Yeah, so I kind of figured that we'll probably have to look into raising prices in the near future also, just to kind of push it.
Yeah, if you can raise prices by 15% twice over the next few years, that business will do $900,000 in annual revenue without buying more truck or having more equipment. Right. So that's why I talk so much about doing the multiple locations, because Val, you staying at that location in a way pushes it past that size of business because you're a salesperson. So you staying there and focusing exclusively on sales, you will need to go into the GM plus size.
Okay.
And that will keep many people from raising prices because you're just funneling more revenue, you're buying more trucks, you're hiring more people, and you stay in this growth engine. So regardless of whether you do multiple locations, I don't care. Just raise your prices and make more money. And it's easier to do that when you're not also trying to grow the business. That's why everyone says like, oh, I'm trying to grow and I'm trying to raise prices. Like, no. You're either raising prices in profit mode and you're bringing down your close ratio, or you're optimizing for more closes, higher close rates by not raising your prices and buying more trucks and getting more equipment.
Yeah. Well, and then the last thing, so just so so we understand is that, so like, and that's, we actually just had that conversation yesterday about like defining our roles a little bit more and trying to kind of have that. But I know that like, because we've invested in the construction aspect, we went to Chicago last year just to do the aquascape training. I'm not as passionate about that as he is. And so I know that that's his kind of forte and that's what he wants to do. So we're both out in the field, but he wants to stay in the field doing the construction part of it. We'll have to get like a GM though at some point, right, when we're ready to kind of take over the. Am I understanding that right? What you kind of suggested?
The model I pitch is that the working GM is the only person that is managing. There's not like a secondary person unless you go higher, which is the GM plus or the full-time GM route.
Okay.
I will say this: 95% of your revenue is recurring.
Yeah.
So this is a new thing you're doing, realistically.
We've been licensed contractors for years. We've done projects before, but when we kind of started understanding the fact that the recurring was safer, especially with all the recession stuff and all that, we kind of doubled down on that and grew all of our recurring stuff. We would do on and off projects for our commercial customers, so we always had stuff like that they would call us in, doing upsells and doing all that stuff. But we've never really marketed into the construction part of it. But it is something that, like I said, that's why I saw.
This is a brand new business.
Pretty much.
So I'm okay with doing that. But like, hey, I just want to enjoy life and I want to scratch the itch of doing projects and aquascapes. Cool. I am not going to stand in the way of that. But let me be very clear: you will make less money. And so I'm okay with that, as long as you are sacrificing money by taking something that's working, that's 95% of your revenue, and you're going to go focus on where 5% of your revenue is at, or actually 0% of your revenue is from. You're building a new business.
Okay,
that makes sense.
And I'm not against it, right? I want to be very clear. Like, I'm just trying to think about the financial side. And if you have plenty of cash set aside and you feel very protected and you're like, hey, we're going to raise price on all the recurring, and then we're also going to do the project side separately, and because we really love it, awesome. There's no one that's going to build aquascapes like you. And finding general managers for like that down the road, or replacing you in the business, is going to be very, very difficult. And I see a lot of people build the $3, $4, $5 million business doing things like that, and then realizing it's the golden handcuffs because no one else can replace them. Whereas right now, I can almost guarantee you, if you guys bailed for the weekend, your crew could probably run the maintenance pretty easily.
Yeah.
And so you just raise prices by 10% of that on all your customers, and no one left.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
So
we have people that say like, we're waiting for that.
You just pushed a button. And you made $60,000. You can't do that with projects, right? So I would only do it if you're like, hey, I love this and I want to build this for me and for what I enjoy doing. And if that's the case, what I would say is, let's not make it a business. Let's actually keep it a passion by only doing it during the off season. Now, you don't have much of an off season, but there's certainly months where it gets slower. And so if I would give you permission to keep your crew busy using projects that organically come your way. So you're not spending much money on marketing. You're not building a new website. You're not retraining your team. You're just going to do those type of jobs when you're slow.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, that's why we're here.
Let's go. Good job, man. Crush it. Real quick, before we continue with the episode, I want to introduce you to Home Service Web Design. If you are a home service business owner and you're trying to get more leads and drive more traffic to your website with great search engine optimization, you'll definitely want to check it out. Its flat monthly fee will allow you to grow your business, and most of our clients, within 12 months, double the amount of lead they get from their website. All right, next up is Bo Gowering. Go ahead and unmute yourself. There you go.
Boring. Yep, sounds good. Hey, how's it going, Mike? I love watching your videos. Unfortunately, you're my 2 a.m. in the morning bedtime guy, so don't take it the wrong way. But my mind doesn't stop. It's just never ends. I think everybody here knows what I'm talking about. So, but so my biggest thing is I've got unique situations, like we all do, right? My problem that I have a bottleneck is I have 3 steps. I need to figure out how to transition to the next step, because my father just retired. Air quotation, he wants to retire with, dealing with the same thing that Val was talking about, old ways versus new ways. So we've got, I think, most of that squashed. My problem is that we're right at that stage in the last 5 years or so that we've grown from essentially 90,000 a year to 1.4, and we're just like stuck right there. And the primary problem behind it is it's just two. It's me and Ray, my dad. And with the two of us, we're able to do it. But if I'm losing one, how am I going to keep that momentum? How am I going to keep that steam going? The reality is that labor pools suck. And so the best way to deal with that is benefits, things you can offer, whatever it is you can attract people to come in. But I mean, it's 2150 is the average in Washington State for a tech to come in. My problem is I say, okay, I need to bring people in. I need to bring them in at 1850 till I get them to 2150 worth of production. My margins are so thin, and they're not so thin that I can't weather higher wages. I just have to worry about bucking the current people I have and somebody else coming in at their wage or higher. And now they're going to be like, well, wait a second, why aren't we getting that? I've tried to do a multitude of faceted things. And how do I attract the right talent? How do I get the right people? There just isn't a age range between 25 and 40 of people that really just want to actually work. I'm not able to get new talent in. I'm not able to get people retained. I've wanted to offer 401k. I figured out how to get my system to do that. I'm just one person. And I feel like just being one person, being able to do I feel like 6 or 7 people's job isn't enough anymore to keep up the business and keep up with it. So I almost feel like I naturally need to contract, find some new people, and then try and reintegrate back into what I'm doing. But I don't want to lose my 95% of my recurring income that I have on contract. So if I shake the tree too hard, I can't produce the quality I've been producing. I'll start losing my recurring revenue. And if I don't shake the tree hard enough, I can't get to the next level. I can't get to where I'm trying to get, which I'm doing the systemizing, I'm doing the automating, trying to simplify and do just specific services. I'm trying to put parameters and frame it down. I'm really looking for some sort of guidance, but that's just one half of the business, right? And that's the business side I'm running. So the other story at the end of it is the construction side. We have a construction side that makes up the other part of the 1.3 mil. And then while there's projects going, that's doing a great job. But when there aren't projects going, the grounds care side is literally footing the bill to handle those jobs, get those jobs started. And they're in that vicious 90 to 180 cycle of payment, because of prevailing wage and all these other things, right? So I'm really in like 3 vortexes spiraling each other. Which one's going to take us down the hole first, right? Prices is there. I'm making 35% bare minimum on everything I do. That's my margin. I don't try and target 10, 20, 30. I do 35% on everything I buy and I supply. I try to make sure that all of my wages that I'm making 3.5 times whatever my wage cost is for every job I do. So that's my parameters that I try to run on. So if it costs me $40 in labor, then it's 40 times 3.5. That's what my pricing is on the job is, right? And so that gives for, the one for paying the person, not out of my pocket, one for it going in my pocket for profit, and the other for fudge factor, issues, problems, have to give a discount because something gets damaged, whatever. It's all factored into the math, because the math doesn't lie. So
cool. So first off, I think just by the way, if you wanted me to drop by, feel free to reach out for a turnaround show because I think we're going to be in your area next month. I will say this. You have a very inefficient labor source right now. The reason I know that is because the amount of revenue you're producing minus materials is probably about $70,000 to $80,000 per year per employee once you take out materials and you just look at direct labor. And so I don't think it's a pricing problem because you said you're charging essentially about 25 to 30% of every dollar you make is going to direct labor. But that can get completely skewed if only 50% of their day is actually producing revenue.
Right. Yep.
And
exactly.
so I would be looking very heavily at your budget hours and versus your actual hours and tracking that. Like, do you track budget hours right now? I know commercial's more difficult.
Budget hours, we are targeting that and doing that. I actually started using a software called Connect Team to try to help us track that, the clocking in, clocking out, and getting people used to that here recently. So,
do you know what your efficiency score is by chance, Bo?
So I don't have the efficiency score set up. I do have your book here, actually.
You're good.
I got plug here. I got all of your books here, actually. So
yeah, the thing that I would be tracking is efficiency score. The reason for that is because just based upon the math, if you're charging that per hour and you have that many employees, we should be doing more revenue, especially because you have materials on the construction side. I would imagine you have about 55 to 60% efficiency score. If I had to just quickly do the math in my brain, I would imagine that's what you're at. And for doing commercial maintenance, I see those companies being over 90 pretty frequently because you're not stopping 20 times a day. You're stopping at probably 2 or 3 or 4 sites.
Right.
And so I would first track that. And then the second, so I'll asterisk this, Second, more important thing is the stance on the team. I do believe the way we talk about the team and we say words mean something. And I agree, it can seem like there's no one out there. The fact is there are. It's just a matter of they're not coming to you. So the question becomes, so we can control this, what do we need to do to become the place they want to work? And so the immediate thing that all of us think of is money. And yes, that's the easy thing. It's kind of like money when it comes to price for the customers. Like, yes, if you move price, it's going to adjust. If you move how much you pay the team, it is going to change the type and the quality of person you're attracting. So if we could somehow fix magically the efficiency and the profitability of the business, yes, we would be able to afford now $24, $25 an hour and probably attract a different candidate to in the labor pool.
Yep.
The other side of it is, even if you offered $24 or $25 an hour, would people want to work there? And this is the intangible part that becomes very difficult to detach from all of us personally is, do people want to work for you? Now, we will always clam onto the people that have worked for us for 10, 15 years, myself included. And we'll say, oh, because those people stuck with me, therefore I have the skill of a leader. When in reality, that person might stick with you because they like it the way it's always been and they somehow jive with you, but they're not like 95% of other people that might not. And so sometimes it does mean adjusting our skill set as a leader and our temperament, the way that we are with the team and the way that we communicate with them to be able to attract a new, quote unquote, new generation of workers that we have to adjust to. I will say, once you figure out budget hours and efficiency score, that's where the money side gets solved because you can now incentivize higher efficiency. Whether you do pay for performance, as I call it, or you simply just say we are tracking budget hours versus clocked hours, and if your efficiency score at the end of the pay period is over this, you get this amount. If it's under this, you get this amount. And you can create tiered structure. So that way the people that have been with you for a long time, if they're so efficient and so good and so awesome at their job, they can make more. If someone new coming in is also incredible, has tons of skill, they don't have to feel bad because everyone knows what the pay scale is, and it's a percentage of how quickly am I moving, how efficient am I without getting yellow slips, callbacks.
Exactly.
So I would really push in that direction. Like, what can we control? We can control paying them more. How do we pay them more? We do it based upon how efficient they are. How do I make sure that I can actually know how efficient they are? I got to figure out budget hours and clocked hours in every single site. And I think you're really close to that. It's just a function of probably doing a little bit of math and spreadsheet work. And if you do it on the back end, Bo, without even telling them, I can guarantee you, you will very quickly, and it'll probably just reconfirm the suspicions you have in your brain of which crew members are crushing it and which ones are like doing half as much revenue as the others.
Right. Okay. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I actually created a tool called total cost of labor versus total cost of value. And so I actually have a tool that we've been using to track that. So when we take the amount of time, what the person's paid, and then we actually look at what the bill is versus what we actually can absorb and allow for. And so we actually do all of our billing that way now. So so while I'm tracking efficiency, it's only done when we're creating the bill. That's why for now it's hard to track that because I don't know if you're familiar with it. We use Sage 50 software. It's a double entry system. It is extremely cumbersome and issue prone, but it's backable and defensible in court better than QuickBooks is. And since we have a multitude of pay scales that go from prevailing wage, non-prevailing wage, we have to use that instead. So it makes it very difficult because it doesn't schedule anything. So we have an outside scheduler. And then so we have a disjointed set of working systems that make it very hard to pull the correct efficiency out, except simply, like you say, budgeted hours versus the actual hours done. So
how much of your revenue percentage-wise does prevailing wage play into it?
So I would say on the construction side, it's approximately 70% of what construction brings in. Overall, the years tip one way to the other. Usually it's in the years when it's heavier on construction, it'll be like 60% of all of our revenue is construction, and then 40% of it would be like contract revenue. But that's when we have 600 to 700,000 coming in just from construction. But we've had years where only 300,000 came in from construction, then it was more 50-50. And then of that 50%, probably 80% of it was prevailing wage. A lot of it, the prevailing wage is actually minimum wage, and our guys make more than minimum wage already. So it all depends if it's, like on an Indian reservation, or it just depends on what construction we're doing, because we do a very unique installation of basically playground structures that is done essentially nationwide, and we're certified. Ray and myself are CPSI certified, and so therefore we get reached out by the producers of the playgrounds to come in and actually install it, being certified and doing all that already. We've been doing that since 2005. So
Yeah, so like you already sound like you're tracking enough numbers. You could, if you're doing it billing, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You could do this. I'm not a huge fan of this, but like you could do where their pay scale changes monthly or quarterly based upon their last month or quarter of performance. I like it being immediate. That's why we do budget hours versus actual on every visit. But if you're doing large projects, like it's very difficult to do it, to your point, because you're doing it at the end of a big project. So you could do that. I have seen some large construction companies using P4P to do this, and that is essentially they just track it all at the end of the job. They say, okay, great, that's done. And the quarter, we look at your entire quarter of performance, and next quarter, your pay scale is based upon that performance. So that might be an easier method for you as well.
okay, perfect. That sounds like a good opportunity. Thank you.
Chris is up.
A little background. Emerald Edge Lawns, we just do lawn treatments, lawn fertilizations, weed control, aeration, overseeding, that kind of stuff. In 23, going to 24, we went from a single operator to a GM model. Brought on an employee. She was a great employee. She's a great lawn care technician. Had some background on her. She worked for us through almost to the end of the season. At the end of the season, she took a job as a union electrician, which was her background 10 years previous before she got in some trouble legally. So can't blame her for having to take on a better position. So going, and we had a great year in 24. Going 25, we had a bad hire in the spring, and it really wrecked us. We had about two and a half months. Finally had to let that employee go after he couldn't pass the pesticide test. Went for another 2 months looking for somebody, couldn't find anybody. Finally found somebody in August. Our season ends in November. So the last 3 or 4 months, this technician was great. He came with no experience. He was a roofer, gutter guy. So used to working outdoors, but came on, he was great. So labor has always been as we've grown, labor has always been our hang up.
Attracting it, Chris, or retaining it? Which of the two?
Both.
Okay.
So
okay.
First, attracting it. So kind of my first question is, whenever we advertise, our compensation is on point, if not a little bit more premium than what we do. So taking compensation out of it, what's the biggest factor it actually determines to get high quality technicians to apply in the first place? So we get Indeed ads, we'll get 40, 50, 60 responses, and really almost nobody's qualified. I think I did 30 or 40 in-person interviews last year. I took some of your advice about pre-qualifying them, and even pre-qualifying, we were getting nothing of any kind of value, of any kind of experience. Or really, the gentleman that I did hire was he was reliable, great guy, just did not have the smarts to pass the pesticide test, the state test.
Right. So you're saying you're getting a whole bunch of applications, and they're not even. This is honestly probably a job.
I mean, I'm worried about them driving my trucks. Like the people I came out and interviewed, showing up and beat up pieces of equipment, in their vehicles. Sometimes they say, if you want to know how a guy's going to take care of your piece of equipment, look at his personal piece of equipment. If you want to know how he's going to take care of your yards, how's he take care of his yards? Mm-hmm. These are some rough characters that we were able to even get applications from.
Yep. So I do think there's a job ad problem, like the actual job posting, mostly because there's no reason someone apply if it's clear that you are not going to be hired if you don't have a pesticide license.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming, though, correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris, did you essentially put that as a preferred thing eventually?
Oh, no. Hey, first 90 days, you have to be licensed. If you don't have existing license, first 90 days on the ad, you have to get licensed within the first 90 days.
Got it.
And how much we bumped? That's why the other gentleman lasted 3 months.
Yeah.
The first time he only missed 30 questions. The first time he took a test, he missed 34. I told him, take it again right away. You just know what the test was. Take the study material, do the Zoom meeting again, go through the 4-hour online thing, take test again. Well, he dragged on. And I finally went like, Brad, you got to pass it this week. You got to take it online now. And he missed like 42 questions. He got worse the second time.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, hey, your 90 days is Thursday. I'll keep you on a week after that. So I actually came a little bit longer. But you're going to have to find something. A week from Friday, 10 days from now is going to be your last day. So
to get the 50 or 60 applications, how much did you spend on Indeed?
Maybe $200, $300.
Yeah. So right now let's call it cost per lead for a minute, right? Your cost per lead is about $3. I want that to be 50, but we're going to reduce the amount of people getting through. What you have done is the equivalent of putting out a Facebook ad that says like, hey, I will give your first lawn service for free. Yeah, you get a ton of customers, not great candidates.
They're all crappy customers.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so the same thing is happening right on your job ad. And so when you're spending $3 to $5 per quote lead applicant from Indeed, I almost can guarantee they're not going to be good quality. The same way if I told you if you're getting $3 to $5 customer acquisition cost or cost per lead, you'd be like, probably not great quality. Yeah. I can assume that with Indeed. And so what I would do, Chris, is make it much more stringent in terms of your requirements. It's not like a recommendation. It's not within you required to have it. And if you really want to, you've required to have it for the past year. Now, is that going to reduce 95% of people? Yes. So let's assume then that we have to pay 20 times as much. 20 times $5 is what? $100, right? Yeah. $100 cost per lead. That's where I'd be looking. And I'll also say this, Chris, if labor is the actual problem of the business and getting 60 candidates costs us $200, I would just be asking, is it worth $2,000 to solve this problem? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And I believe that if you increase the requirements on the application and then you spent $500 to $1,000 and you increase the cost per applicant to $100 or $150 or $200, you'd get better quality candidates to work with, and then you'd feel better about interviewing them, etc.
So how's that increasing the cost per lead on Indeed? Does that then Indeed as recruiting or just gets in front of more people?
You just make a requirement. So like when they do the job ad, the job ad, I'm saying like you are required, but also I'm making it where they have to actually answer a question that says, how many years have you been a passive license? And if it's not above 1, I don't even see it. It gets screened out.
Okay.
And so right now, by saying, hey, you have to get applications licensed within 90 days, what you're saying is, I will teach you anything. Just be green and show up. That's what they hear. And that's why you get all kind of like the everything. The same way if you put a customer's ad out there and said, it's $1.99 for your mowing service, you'd get a bunch of customers.
So along those similar lines is the one good employee that we did have left for a union electrician job. I mean, pension and everything that the green industry is not set up yet. That would be nice someday if we could actually figure that out and get that one. So what's one recruiting retention lever completely unrelated to compensation that you think the green industry is underestimating? So outside of compensation, what are we missing out on in the industry to keep our people in our companies?
A ladder to move up. So like the stages of success inside of the book is the key. And that is, you think about why do I start a job? I either want to make money today to provide for my family, think hourly wages, or I'm trying to move up in the role and I'm willing to take a lower paying job for now, but I have a place I'm going. And so I'm willing to hold my breath a little longer. I give the example of the 7 stages in the book, but I would take every business, take those as a starting point and then just go make your own. What are the 7 stages? Do you want to tie comp to it? Maybe. We don't. We just give them a certificate, we clap it up, we take a picture, you put it on social media, and we tag them. Like that to most people is the non-compensation that they're living for. Because no one else has ever tagged them on their social media in a business setting with them in their uniform. All their friends are going to like it. They're going to share it. They get pride around it. And now they get known as the person who works at XYZ lawn care business, and they don't want to split with that brand. And so now you've created social hooks and you've created a culture where people want to stay and they want to grow inside the organization. And then now they pride in, I'm a stage 1 tech, I'm a stage 2 tech, I'm a stage 5 tech, I'm a stage 7 tech. Oh, I unlocked a one-time vacation for me and someone else to go to Mexico. That doesn't cost you like maybe $2,000, but that stage 7 tech might take 2 years to get there. But now you start putting on your wall pictures of all the families that have gone to Mexico because they hit stage 7.
Yeah. And we're already talking about a return bonus. I think that was one thing we kind of talked about. Some other things seasonal is, bringing people back and spending $1,500, $2,000 as a return bonus, on that. So there's that kind of thing. So last thing, kind of similar of all this kind of stuff. You've been out with a lot of other service industries, not only the green industry, but, HVAC and stuff like that. Where do long companies lose the best candidates and our employees? Like along those same kind of lines of the retention, where you see that we lose them that other industries don't?
Most of those 2 things, either money today or promise of future tomorrow. So if we can do that, which is we have higher margins and we use pay for performance to pay them more today, and then we give them a ladder and a place to move up into in the future, that's how we can retain them.
Thank you.
You got it. Hey everyone, inside of the book, Copy and Paste Millionaire, I talk about the P4P system being so instrumental to be able to have the business run without you, where your employees are paid based upon how hard they're working. If this is something you're interested in, this is the perfect time of year during the off season to be able to figure out the software that makes this possible automatically. Within a matter of a minute per employee per day, you can pay your employees based on how hard they work and not based on how many hours they worked. So go check it out, p4psoftware.com. The first 30 days are completely free, so you can make sure it's working for your business. Set up a call with Lael, our support system here, to be able to make sure it's implemented in your business correctly. Last but not least.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, so we're kind of I guess I'm curious if we're in two different stages at once sometimes. So our winter side is so unpredictable being in Alaska. It's much lower on the income, but it's also much lower on expenses. So it's actually more profitable by percentages, but it's just much less money. And so I do 90% of the work. So I'm definitely working GM on that side. Vice versa, in the summertime, we are, I think, well set up in almost a 90% recurring service for lawn care. And we're almost in a full-time GM situation there. And so I'm curious if I kind of like where we're at. I want to grow both sides just a little bit more before I go into full profit mode and then start expanding, because we're also in like a village setup where every 20 miles you have like a little center. Yeah. So it's perfect for this model. It's just hard because we get so many calls from these people. They're like, well, you're just 20 minutes away. It's like, that takes forever though, So I guess I'm curious, is it okay to start thinking about a next location that's pretty close while we're in this kind of dual process, if that makes sense? So in the winter side, I guess I want to expand on that. The guy that helps me is who I would use as a GM at one of the two locations. So we would both essentially have a working GM mode for each locations in the wintertime, and then vice versa. In the summer, he would run the one and I would be growing the second.
My first question is, what's your service during the winter? Is it snow?
90%. Yeah, we are going to expand into Christmas lights per your suggestion on our last one, but we were a little late to it this season.
You're good. Yeah, so I think the main thing I'd be thinking about is making sure that there is no quarter of the year where you lose money. So when we talk about profit mode, kind of like the subtones of that is that I have solved the off season. I would put every marketing dollar possible, assuming your CAC isn't incredibly higher than your summer, into making sure that the revenue during the slower season is increased. And just so I'm clear, Reggie, is it the summer that's actually your slow season? Is that correct? Like the mowing side?
No, the summer is a lot more money. It's just, I guess, less profit percentage wise.
Got it. Okay. So I'd be doing two things. One, I'd be trying to increase the revenue during your snow season, mostly because you have capacity for it. You're way below capacity. And then on the other side, when you have the peak and the spike in all the leads coming in and the revenue for the mowing side, that's where I would be looking at going into quote unquote profit mode on those, because I don't want you to extend capacity to the height of summer. I want you to be able to bring that capacity down and not need so much excess capacity during the winter when all those trucks aren't being deployed.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so like there are times when you have these big swings like you guys do in Alaska, where I will say, hey, we actually want to raise prices only on this one service, because if we don't, it's going to run away and drive all of our asset capacity higher by buying more trucks, hiring more people. And now what you just said happens. You're like, I literally need all hands on deck on this during 6 months of the year. It's very difficult to scale that. It might work for 2 locations, but you'll never do 3, because now you're bouncing between 3 locations trying to do sales during the busy season. I would really recommend actually bringing capacity down during the summer by raising prices. And that'll do 2 things. 1, you'll make more profit because you'll raise prices on the services during the busiest time. 2, it'll bring your capacity down so you have less excess capacity during the winter.
Okay. And just to be clear, we're using 3 trucks in the summer and 2 trucks in the winter. So is that still fitting in that, or is that maybe not as bad as what you were thinking in your mind?
What's your total annual revenue, Reggie?
We're at, I think this week, about 6 to 650. And I would say 120 of that is the winter, with the rest being the summer, and it almost exclusively recurring. I don't really do landscaping.
Got it. And how many employees do you have in summer versus winter?
In the summer, we can sometimes squeeze away with 4. So it's 4 to 5. In the winter, it's just me and a helper.
Got it. So you don't actually have a lot of asset capacity, because if I was you, I'd also keep the extra truck. It's more of a backup. So asset capacity is not what you have a problem with. It's labor capacity, because during the summer you're filling you're filling those trucks up with people. During the winter, you're not. Right. And so I still think in terms of like, I'm always looking for excess capacity, and you have a lot of excess capacity in the winter. So either A, you go really focus on selling more snow service. And that's where when I mentioned the CAC, if you can make sense of it, I would potentially raise prices on your mowing, take that profit and go dump it into getting more customers for snow so that you can level out these two equilibriums of demand throughout the year.
Okay. It's something that we've been looking to do, like a call center setup. We have a local one here. They charge like $150 a month, and it gets us, like an X amount of minutes, which I think will be sufficient. So it's definitely cheaper than hiring someone. I'm just curious, at what point does I guess I should clarify, they do not access Copilot. So they would essentially be like
create a ticket.
And so at what point should I look at, I guess, the more personalization of having an actual person in the office? Or when I make the transition from working GM to full-time GM, should I take that back under my wing or leave the call center in place until such a time that I need a full-time admin?
Yeah, assuming you have a full route where you can work as many hours as you want in the field, there's never a reason to do admin because it's always a lower leverage task than just going out in the field and making 80 to $100 an hour. I'm assuming that's where you're at. So like, there's never a reason to do admin. I want to get off your plate as soon as you get past solo operator. What was your revenue? What's your revenue this year? You think Reggie going to be?
About 6 to 650.
Got it. So we want admin off your plate. Why do you think you're only going to need 150? Like, how many minutes does that include?
It's like 200 minutes. We honestly don't get very many phone calls. Most of our stuff's online through the website. And so they just kind of apply and then we email them or text them.
Cool.
So a lot of it kind of happens automatically through Copilot, which I manage personally. So I see that as, part of the job and I don't know exactly when
like managing them,
that part of it off would be.
Got it. All the other, that's where the juice is right there, Reggie. So like I would be looking for someone that can work part-time, either virtually or in person. But like usually the answer you're looking for is like 800,000 annual revenue is usually a good point where it's like, hey, it's starting to make sense to hire someone and pay a little extra and get them in person, local, etc. I would not be opposed to someone working for you like 4 hours a day, like part-time, because then what they can do is they can stack all the things that need to get done. For example, send out the estimates, send out the invoices, do the scheduling for the next day, order materials. You'd have like this massive checklist. And at your size, even at 600,000, they could probably fill 3 to 4 hours a day pretty solid. You can't afford 8 hours yet. So what I would probably do is do reactive tasks with something like the answering service. Fine. They only get it though if the person who's at the office for, let's call it 10 to 2 every day, doesn't answer the phone. Now, you don't have a lot of phone calls, very few. That 4 hours need to be filled with something. That's when you're going to make sure that everything you're doing, I'm talking payroll, email, text messages, every single aspect, like creating text blasts and emails inside Copilot, everything is needing to have a system so that you can give them something to do for 3 to 4 hours a day.
Okay.
Because that will cost you about, what market are you in, sorry, Reggie?
Where we're located, Alaska.
Right, got it.
Long care, it's not remote.
Yeah, so if you did part-time, like someone 4 hours a day, I think it would get 80 to 90% of your admin done. And I think you'd probably spend between $30,000 and $40,000 to do that, even if it's someone local, right? Like, yes, you could go cheaper and go someone remote. You could do that. But I think do you have a shop, like a space where they could be, Reggie, right now or not?
Yeah, we have a little deal with the local storage yard. So they took out an old building. And so we kind of have a little bit of an indoor office. It just doesn't have water, so no bathroom. But it's in a grocery store parking lot. So if I did have someone locally there, they could walk, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, this is part of the job description. You say it up front so they don't have bad expectations. But like, I think that's the move. I think 30 to 40 grand, you spending that. But again, everything in admin needs to be delegated to them. Because like, if you hire someone part-time now, but you're still kind of doing the email, you're still doing payroll, you're still doing all these admin tasks, that's when it doesn't make sense. But I do think at your size, I would get someone for 4 hours a day. Any overflow in terms of phone calls, like reactive stuff, can go to the call center, but it's not a lot. But right now, you're doing a lot of the admin tasks, and you could otherwise just be in the field working. But I think you spending your time on the actual sales of things, that starts to look a lot more interesting.
Okay. And then in that same aspect, we've kind of grown nothing but organically, and it has slowed down as we get a little bit old, I guess, bigger. In that same aspect, should that type of person be doing things like social media and stuff? Like, would you consider that all the same task, or should I hire that out to an agency?
Totally. So I would be working at the top of the list, the bottom list every single day for my admin person. First thing is going to be highest priority, lowest priority. Do I want them to do social media? Yes, but that's at the lowest priority because I'm not going to have them not send out the invoices to go make a social media post. And so what you got to figure out is what's that checklist? What's that order of operations for them to go through on a daily basis, and realize that during the peak season, they might only get through a half of it or the first one if they walk into 10 voicemails and 5 estimates and you go out, right? It's all about order of operations. So for example, at Command Center, we like what every single department needs to do every day. So for example, we're not sitting in the email waiting for their emails. We go in there 3 times a day at specific times and we check the email. And so you're going to create a checklist similar to that for every single thing that needs to get done. And then you need to say, hey, at the end of the day, here's the checklist. I want a picture at the end of the day before you leave at 2 o'clock. Just send a picture of what you got to. That way I know, did everything get done? And if not, what didn't get done?
Okay. Now you say sending out estimates, and I just want to clarify that person would not actually be doing the estimates. They would just be taking possibly notes from the estimator, or would you include that in there? Because how would you break that down?
Yeah, I'm assuming like the estimator's making notes. I'm assuming also that like there's requests for estimates to come in and they're doing measurements. I'm assuming any sort of facilitation of like number crunching, putting the quotes together, attaching a video to the quote, all that should be the admin person.
Okay. With us having the 6-month and 6-month season so hard here in Alaska, would you say the best time would be to raise prices kind of as you're trying to sell along everyone else, or would you go into the season normally and then kind of once you get past the spring rush, then send out a notice, kind of like everything else does? Or do you feel like that's maybe a little bait and switchy, as it were?
Yeah, I always, in the perfect world, I want to always hit capacity, right? So that's why it's like welcome to capacity and then I have the decision. If you're not at capacity, you don't want to be raising prices because now you're creating excess capacity if you lose customers. I want to be raising prices to the point where I need to be losing customers because I'm at capacity. And so in the perfect world, you grow in the spring rush, you hit capacity, and you're like, I must do this immediately. I don't care if people leave. I need them to leave. Otherwise, I have to turn away new customers. That's the perfect case scenario. Now, if you're going into the spring rush and you're going to hit capacity in 4 to 6 weeks, then it's usually the most civil thing to do is let them know, hey, this season, this is your price. And let some people filter out then. I will say if you're going to do that, go higher on our pricing because now it won't be looked at a price increase. Most people won't even notice the price increase because they haven't done service for 6 months.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's just my concern is to lose them to the cheaper guys who are going to be running around, because a lot of the guys here, they really don't have anything. It's like guys with residential mowers charging way under price. And so we always have to try to compete with those guys. And so I agree that once they are our customer, we don't have any problem anytime we try to raise prices. But my concern is that we kind of don't have true recurring customers. I mean, I have customers that I've had for 10 years, but they don't, they go away for 6 months of the year. So you are kind of selling them again every single year. I've tried to kind of switch it to like, hey, we're just turning your service back on, but then people get confused. And there's always a couple of customers who are like, oh, well, you didn't service my lawn because I never responded to anything because you just said you were going to do it. And then vice versa, you get people who are like, well, I didn't respond to this. Why did you service my lawn? And we kind of got caught between those two, looking for a way forward, as it were.
Yeah, so 2 things. I would definitely say the good news about chucking a truck is that they aren't going to answer their phone when they get busy. So in your case, I would probably wait until you hit capacity in the middle of spring rush, because when that happens, customers won't leave because when they try to call Chuck on a truck, he doesn't answer his phone. The second thing I will say is when it comes to renewals and coming them back, it's how you prime at the end of last season. And so at the end of last season, if you say, hey, Mr. Jones, thank you so much for your season. We are wrapping up next week. This is the last week. Snow's flying. Let's go. By the way, we're going to be starting mowing on this date. We'll remind you beforehand, but just so you know, we are going to be starting on this date. If you prime them then, your retention on the uptick will be way better.
Do you still require them to, I guess, have a call to action where they at least still have to confirm it, or do you literally just make it automatic?
We just say, hey, like, first off, we're going to see you next year. If I'm mowing their lawn, they're thinking I'm going to come back next spring. Great. I'm going to say that. And then when I send them the reminder, I'm going to say, hey, just a reminder, like we said, on March 1st, we're coming back. So we'll be there next week. If anything changed, let us know.
Okay. Perfect. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they can always look in the customer portal too and like see their upcoming visits if you allow them to see that. And like if they wanted to check it out early, sometimes customers call early and like, oh, are you guys going to come out? The nice thing about your area is like very cut and dry. It's like snow stops, lawn starts. Lawn stops, mowing starts, right? Or snow. So I would just get in the habit of priming them at the end of the season. And then when you send them the email prior, it just like, hey, as we said before, we're starting on March 1st. That's the season. And you could even like call it mowing season and snow season. Like I just really use that a lot so that they just in their mind know you're coming March 1st unless you tell me otherwise.
And that sounds kind of similar to the way where I am. It just feels, so it sounds like basically let us know, otherwise we will show up. But how do you combine that with a price increase? Because I do feel like they need to agree to a price increase. You can't, or are you basically saying like, hey, we're raising the price and you're on automatic service, so let us know if that changes it?
No, I would just in the reminder email the week before be like, hey, we're getting started. It's March 1st. Here's your prices for the upcoming 2026 season, mowing season.
Okay.
I wouldn't say new. I wouldn't say prices are going up. I wouldn't say price increase. Those are all scary words. Here's your prices for the upcoming 2026 season.
All right.
Yeah, you'll get like 98, 97, 98% will be okay with it.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. Really do appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week and awesome 2026 ahead. And we will certainly stay in touch. Take care, everyone.